That's it.
Welcome to Shining the Light. My name is S.E. Waliboa, and my guest today is Sharon Orapeleng. Sharon Orapeleng is from Botswana, now Australia-based. She is the founder and principal consultant with Psyched Solutions. She is an engaging speaker, writer, trainer, and facilitator with academic degrees in psychology and neuroscience, as well as master's degree in behavior management. Wow! Sharon Orapeleng is regularly engaged by corporates and community organizations, facilitating conversations on mental health and well-being, creating psychologically safe spaces by embedding the African philosophy of Ubuntu, Botho, I am because we are. She is a curator of cultural immersion experiences, writer on diaspora stories and Australia multiculturalism, and is often engaged by Australia's media for commentary on racism, diversity, and mental well-being. She is the chair of the board of Ethnic, an organization supporting young women of color in Queensland. Wow. Sharon. All right. How you been, my sister? How you been? Talk to me.
I am so good. Let me introduce myself well, because I think that is really important for what we're talking about.
Yes.
So, ke malebogo Sharon Orapeleng, asameti, kala atipitsile a shebanang a botlhoko, a ditlhabi a botlhoko, a mogajana thito ya mosadi a tlala. That is me.
That's long. What does it mean? I mean, that's beautiful and long, though.
What it means is I've just narrated to you the people who come before me, who I am because of them,
like your roots,
my ancestors. You know, where I come from, Barolong farms in Hebron from Botswana.
Yeah, no, I know a few folks from Barolong farms.
Okay, so where I come from, if I just tell you that I'm Sharon Orapeleng, people will not know who I am. I need to tell you who my mother is, who my mother's father is, who my mother's father and father is. How would they, when you say I come from, Hora Ditlabi, I have to tell you the whole lineage, because that is who I am and the people that I come with to you.
That's good, man. That's good. I love it. So let's just jump right into this thing. So we just went through the pandemic, or we're still going through it, right?
Yeah.
So what did you learn about yourself that you didn't know before?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think I learned that I was way more vulnerable than I thought I was.
Okay.
I've always thought that, I'm kind of protected. I'm all rooted. I got this.
Yeah.
I got this, and I have people I can lean on, and things can happen. And I was not being naive. But I had created some sort of a security net of family, of connections, of friends. And then when COVID came, took almost over 12 members of our family within during the Omicron wave. It was so confronting. It was so real. It showed me the vulnerability of our lives and the kind of things that we live in.
Yeah.
I found myself fighting to not only to stay sane, but to hold people around me together.
Yeah.
But to also try to deal with the inequality that existed, that COVID had always existed, but COVID actually unmasked.
So kind of exposed them. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. I remember being absolutely desperate to get the Australian government to give Botswana some vaccines.
Okay.
Because here we were getting vaccines, people didn't want them, some were expiring, have to be discarded. And here I am, people from home calling me, saying two of my cousins who eventually passed away,
saying we're dying here, please help.
Saying, send the vaccines. We want them. Can you get them for us there in Australia?
So what was the problem of you not being able to, because you had those connections, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, because the vaccine procurement,
Yeah,
if it was that easy, we would have been able to just buy it
exactly,
and send it to our families, right? But
exactly.
it was government to government and companies negotiations. It was
So
way beyond.
you couldn't talk to the ambassador out there in Australia and say,
I
hey, what
talked
can we
to
do?
I talked to my connections in government here.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a whole lot of people, my connections in Botswana. It was okay, it is actually way beyond
Mm-hmm.
my capacity
Yeah, of
as
course,
a
of course,
man
of course.
Botswana,
Yeah,
as a man
yeah, yeah.
person.
I mean, and it's a sensitive issue. You know, you don't just listen to everybody, right? So,
No,
yeah.
no.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I use social media. I used the activation that we do now, that we are connected
Mm-hmm.
online. You can go on Twitter and tag people and say, do something.
Yeah.
I use my LinkedIn, do something. Can we do something? What is Australia? What are you doing? Can we address these vaccine inequities? Can we address this? Because Africa and people not only in Botswana but in the continent was, when we were all reaching 70% of vaccinated rates in Australia, a lot of our countries in Africa were barely 3%, barely 10% of vaccination, and people were dying. So it was it was incredible.
Okay.
But it taught me that we people of Africans background in diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
we have to strengthen our links.
Exactly. That's my point. My point is like, do we actually have a voice as far as diaspora and motherland is concerned?
We actually do. We're
We
just not
actually
using.
do.
We
Okay.
actually do, but we haven't collectively been utilizing it to the best of our advantage.
Okay.
You know, we have these frameworks. I know the African Union has a strategy of engaging the diaspora
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing the value and the strength of the diaspora to Africa. And however, it's up to individual countries.
I know as far as President Paul Kagame is concerned, the Rwandan, president,
Yeah.
he has, those connection with the diaspora. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying? And they work together. So
So what's happening with Botswana? What's happening with South Africa? What's happening
that's
with
my
other
question
places?
to you.
That is the question. So
Yeah.
I mean, we try. I mean, for myself, I try. You know, especially when it came to the the fight around the vaccine inequities and access, I was in contact directly into Botswana and talking to people at home and the government at home, and then linking up with people here at our High Commission. But again, that was me. That was Sharon. Now, if it was a collective of people, so my voice wasn't just one voice, but majority of the voices of people
Yes.
from that background,
Yes.
perhaps we would have had a little bit more impact. That's
Yeah.
how things work.
Yeah.
When it's an individual, advocacy, sometimes we don't go as far as we could if we're doing it collectively.
Correct. I love it. I
But
think
we
we
have
have a voice, right?
power. We have the voice.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate it.
Yes. I feel you, man. So you just gathered everybody in a city, right? And you went to see the movie Wakanda Forever.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I have
And I
been
want to know how you were able to gather everybody and sort of kind of produce some cultural events, if that makes sense, right?
I did this with the first one.
Okay.
And it was very successful. I recognized that there is a need for us to see a diversity of movies in our cinemas. I live here in Australia, where though there are different shades of color of people who live here, there is often one shade that you see when you go to your movies in the theaters. It's just what is,
Right.
and it has been interesting when I talk to a number of cinemas about showing more diverse films, and they say, well, people are not coming to see them. And I said, but how are you reaching them? Are you using the traditional advertising and promotion ways of reaching other communities or the mainstream communities? which is probably missing the connection.
Right.
There is a lost in translation with people of diverse cultures, and they're not coming and not showing up. It's not that they don't want to, it's just that they have, the communication has been targeted to somebody else, because perhaps it's been created by somebody else from their own perception and vision, and not necessarily inclusive of all the diverse narratives that puts this country together and make it what it is. So people don't come up. And I said, you know what? Black Panther for me is a very important movie.
Okay.
You know, it's the same as The Woman King. I did the same 2 weeks ago with The Woman King.
Yeah. That was impressive, man. Kudos to you.
Know,
I love that,
because it is seeing Black people, Black women. It's reimagining Africa, doing things that we don't normally just see in our everyday lives.
Right.
It is thinking about the past, yet going into the future.
So do you think, go ahead.
It is century culture,
yeah,
history, language, experiences together. It's just.
So based on what you're telling me right now, do you think, I know you know this, do you think Africa used to be very powerful as a unit?
Absolutely. It is those stories that are getting lost. So those stories of power before the colonizers came, how many of us hear them? How many of us know Africa pre-colony? How many of us do? We don't, because there are things that have been lost during the colonization. The things that made us who we are were the things that were first discarded, thrown away. The language changing, the culture, that's not good. You need to do this. This is how you need to behave. You're not going to call your kings kings. We're going to call them chiefs, because if you call them kings, what about us as the British? We are the ones, we have a queen and a king. We can't be on the same platform here. So, there was the dismantling of things that made us who we are. And imagine a continent that big. Come on, you wouldn't think it would be so powerful. Imagine a continent and its own minerals, even today, that the world is still excavating.
Yeah.
So the power
neocolonialism, yeah,
is still there. It's just has been taken away. But we can't continue now in this age. It's 2022. My friend, it's 2022. And I absolutely believe that we, the children of Africa, can break away and heal ourselves from those entanglements of the colonial powers and properly take control of Africa together.
Okay. So what are the structures at home that that could hinder that progress? How are you addressing those?
The structures, and because the political systems at home often this happens. It doesn't happen as much in Australia, but in a lot of the African countries, the structures are so based and aligned to politics. And our politics, as you know, is a politics so old that hasn't actually evolved as much, because there is such an alliance that is based on I want to eat, I want to survive, because of the inequity of the resources, right? So the alignment is for those that can and linked to the other that has certain power, right? So where is about civil or community activation, there is not as much connection. So somebody would think that for me to make an impact and help bring people up in Africa, I need to probably engage just with the government. But actually, you can engage with the communities in your own village, where you come from, and do put some money in there. do a private school or something. A private school that's not going to cost an arm and a leg, but a private school that is run privately, but actually teaches alternative education that is relevant to who we are, that is funded by you and your partners in the diaspora, and to leading the development right from the ground. We are so dependent in our government to do things rather than partnerships with private organizations, with businesses to do the things we want to do. Here, I put the Wakanda experience in Brisbane, not through a government grant, but through partnerships.
So you partnered with some businesses and
absolutely.
individuals.
And businesses are saying, next time, absolutely, whatever. We recognize this is important for our community.
Are these African business, or you just contacting everybody?
Business. This time I was proactively linking to businesses that are led by people of African backgrounds.
So after you got all the resources, so you approached the theater. Is that how it works?
I went to the theater first. So the theater first, because I have to secure the thing. I talked to the theater about what I want to do and why I want to do it. You give me a space. You give me a cinema. This is the cost. They tell me, okay, so I want this. This is how it's going to look like. Then I organize everything that I need. I go for partnerships. I knock on doors.
Right. I apologize, my sister, because as you can see that I'm speaking a little bit fast because I know you gave me.
No, that's okay. Just you can go down a little.
I can relax.
Yes.
I can relax.
Yes, you can.
Okay. When you guys were celebrating, you were playing drums. I'm very, 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 interested in the importance of drums, the sound that comes out of drums. Why do you like drums? Because this is not the first time I've seen you.
I love drums.
Yeah.
There are times when we need to elevate our voices. To elevate our voices.
So when you, I'm gonna let you finish up.
Yes. So when you elevate your voices and the drum, it brings that sound. There is no way you will miss the sound of the drum.
Okay.
Right? Remember before there was telephones and telegrams or whatever, we had the talking drums in Africa, where when those drums beat, it was time for meeting. People go to the khotla, to the gathering at the village to know that it was calling them. It is time for us to gather. It was time for us to start an event. You hear the drums beating. So the sound occupies the space and say, here we are. As loud as we can be.
I love
we are communicating with each other. We're existing. Hear me. When those drums were beating at the cinema on Saturday, there were people who were because this is in a shopping center and the cinema is in the center of a shopping center. There were people going there and doing the different things. They had the drums. They came around and said, what's going on here? I explained, oh my God, can I join? How do I join? I said, you go and just buy a ticket. We've already closed for the group tickets, but you can buy a ticket so you can watch the movie with us, or you can just sit here and enjoy the experience if you don't have the time for the movie later on. They say, but what's Black Panther? Because they're looking around and there was a missing of merchandise that can say this is a movie and what it's about. There was everything else but Black Panther. So they was wondering, how do I find information about this movie? So I went over to the cinema and said, listen, it's not okay. There's people here, and I talked to a lady and I showed the people at the cinema. I said, this lady here wants to know more about Black Panther. You don't have any brochures about the movie. You don't have any large illuminating posters that are here that says this is a choice. This is an option for you to watch. It's not okay. Let's change that. Let's do something about it.
Right.
They went and ravaged on their storerooms, came up with one of the bigger posters, put it on top of another thing, and said, "You see, there it is. We've put some." I said, "Okay, now you've done that because I've just asked you to do that. You didn't do that because you saw that this was actually important for you to do that. You have brought this movie to a level that it was not going to be seen by your audiences or people passing by.
Mm.
And I'm saying you need to elevate it and give it an equal space.
I love
so that
it.
people know about it.
I love it, Sharon, because as you were talking about drumming, and I'm thinking about frequency and vibration, as far
Yes.
as elevating to the next level is concerned, right? Now you're elevating everybody to the level that now everybody want to know about what's going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're bringing everybody to the same frequency, and if you don't know, I will tell you.
Mm.
This is an opportunity for us to connect, to build the bridge through cultures, and saying, here we are, this is why it is important for us, and this is why you start to set a certain parameter of behaviors, attitude, and experiences.
Mm.
You embed that. That is really how you move a community forward. Right? Because I can tell you, those people, when they come back next time and they look around the movie theater and see the posters that are all for cinemas or for movies that are from Anglo-Saxon backgrounds, they are going to ask a question and say, why don't we have a diversity of films in my local cinema? I want to have an option, because I told them, actually, you deserve to have a choice.
Yeah.
Not only I deserve to have a choice, but everyone deserves to. You deserve to have a choice to come here and say, today I want to see a movie that is made and produced in Africa, in one of the countries in Africa. Today I want to see a movie that's produced and made in the Indian continent, wherever, in the South, in the Pacific Islands. Wherever, because that is what makes Australia who we are. So let me tell you a bit of the statistics in Australia. About 50% of the population has one parent born overseas, or they're born overseas themselves. So almost 50% of our population have a connection to a country other than Australia.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? If our cinemas then are not reflective of the choice, not even 1% of the film that you put every single month that is in your schedule is not diverse, if not even 1%, we have a problem.
We have a problem.
We have to have a minimum expectation that is reflective of the communities that exist in an area.
Great. I love that, Sharon. Malibu. No, so I didn't disappear, by the way. I just wanted to see, especially the T-shirt that you are wearing. I think it's a very nice T-shirt. So as you were doing the event, you guys had some small businesses coming around and selling their T-shirts, whatever, some cultural stuff. Did you guys had that?
No, it wasn't. We have thought that we could do that in other events. This time we didn't do it. So this time we only looked at those who are sponsoring us to talk about their sponsorships, why those businesses have said yes to supporting us. For example, the legal firm was Solomon's Legal. So we had the managing director there and talking about, we all have rights to access legal representation, and it's when you know somebody who looks like you in a certain profession, you're more likely to go to them and seek support when you need, because they will understand where you come from and your story. You might not even need to repeat yourself, because they will get it. So this is why we had, a legal representative. We had another community, it's called Anchored Care, which is a support agency that provide people with disabilities and psychosocial disability with care and support in the community. Now, if you need that type of service, you are used to a certain type of experience in support. So you want to be able to have a support worker that looks like you, that can go with you to buy some certain food that are related to your culture and help you cook things in a home that makes you feel not focusing on your illness, but focusing on the strength that can help you recover from your whatever it is that you're going through. You want people who kind of get you. So by being able to absolutely by being able to link some of these businesses to support that, is centering that culture is important, recognizing each other is important, acknowledging each other is important, and together as a community we are able to help each other. Another one of our sponsors is a money exchange. They do funds transfer for people who send money back home. So rather than going to Western Union, have no issues with any of these businesses, by the way, but those are mainstream businesses, right? So big, large businesses. You can have this business that owned by an African person, a person from an African background, who understand everything about Africa and who would help you to engage and send your money home and ensure that you're supported when your relatives, your friends, your businesses back home needs to receive that transaction.
I mean that's exactly what the Latinas do, the Chinese do, and so they come together, they support each other. That's why you see their business, they grow everywhere they are, right? So
it is that economy keeping moving.
Yes, let's go back, especially. Let's talk about the base, going back to or returning to base. I think in Google talks a little bit about this, right?
Yeah. We
take me there, because I think this is very important to to all of us.
Absolutely. I think hope, to even have hope for ourselves, for our children. Back in Africa, or those growing up in diaspora, hope for Africa requires us to reconnect and go back. It requires us to heal. See, we are carrying wounds that are so heavy, and we can try
I'm trying to release, right?
But we are carrying loads so heavy. Loads from a generational loads of hurt and wounds. But also because what happens when you hurt too much and you're carrying too much, it takes you away. You start to have a bit of anger. You're confused. There are many types of emotions that comes to you, that then clouds your visions about the actual things that you already know that are already in you that can actually help you get out of that situation. So we feel like we are helpless, but we're not.
So the solution
is going back to base, and I'll go back to what that looks like. What that looks like is Botho, Ubuntu, Botho, Botho. I am because we are. The framework of living that has been embedded to us, has been practiced since our beginnings, where we recognize that we are because we are together, our interconnectedness. Right now, wherever I am in the world and I enter a room, people see me and says, "You are an African." They wouldn't say I'm from Botswana. They will look at you and say, you are from Africa or have an African background. So what is that says I am because we are, that connects me to Africa? It is the essential of us as human beings, that it is that ground that regardless of, we were one before we were so divided. We were.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
But why are we not now? Because people came and saying, "No, you need to go and fight that brother, and I'll give you a little bit of this." And we have now, because of resources, because the world order, now I am better than you are. No, actually, if I'm better and you're better, it is actually for the benefit of all of us. And I'm not saying that we have to kind of, I need to go and look at, my, evaluate my resources, my capital, and say, now I need to give away to my community what I have secured and work hard for, just because I need to have each of us equal. Equality doesn't mean necessarily equality of intelligence or equality of resources. It actually means giving each other's opportunities and ensuring that we thrive together. Because when others are left behind, we're not going to move forward. So I teach here in Australia through my consultancy. I do some masterclass about Botho, about Ubuntu, in helping teams.
Yeah, I mean that's really that. I love that. I love that. Who else is teaching? I think I talked to Dr. Didi. I'm pretty sure you know Dr. Didi. I mean, she does a lot of work, around both. So I'm interested in what you're about to say right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is building connected communities, connected teams. Right now, mental health issues are skyrocketing. Right now, inequality, even in the workplace, it's just continuing to happen. But we are all, striving for human resource. We are all striving for workers, staff, because COVID has shaken all of that. So people are saying, how do, and also the litigations for injury in the workplace are going high. So it's actually costing people way more to not look after each other. It's costing businesses billions of dollars for not looking after the people who look after the businesses who work for them. So in the workplace, it is, we come from all the backgrounds, right? And we come into this secure space, in a space, and if it's unsafe, it's going to cause us hurt, it's going to cause us harm. And now there are legislations that are put in place to ensure that if you are hurt in there, you can go and sue. And that hurt doesn't mean just falling and breaking your leg. That hurt means I've been faced with bullying, racism, discrimination in my workplace. I felt unsafe. And then I've developed all of these things that have impacted on my life. Somebody has to pay for that. So businesses are running around and saying, oh my God, how do I look after my staff? And I say, you can't just look after them if you don't believe that you and them should be in the same wavelength. So we have to then bring everybody up through the conversation of Botho or Ubuntu.
Yeah.
To say that if we're saying we are together through this, if we say we need each other, if we say that together we will thrive and will be successful, we need to go. It's how we talk to each other. It's about how we treat each other. It's our behaviors and attitudes and experiences. It's not just the talk, because if it's just the talk once a month or once a year, that's not going to translate to a change perspectives, and people will still be harmed.
No, that I love it. I did. I used to work at this place called the Urban League in my city. So I was teaching the youth. I still work with the youth.
Yeah.
So and I was teaching the concept of Ubuntu, and we're using film, video, storytelling, and so forth. So they went back home. They started practicing Ubuntu. They came back crying that, you know what? I was able to talk to my mother the way I'm supposed to be talking to my mother. I was talking to my neighbor the way I'm supposed to be talking to my neighbor. That's how powerful that is. So so how about co-workers though? Because now you have this, some people are working at home, you know what I mean? Like, how do you bring this concept of Ubuntu if people?
It is exactly the same.
Okay.
It's exactly the same, because the concept remains the same and can be utilized by countries, right? So if countries and governments were practicing the concept, if African Union had Ubuntu and Botho embedded in as a framework of philosophy of what they do, then the unity, the work, you wouldn't hate your brother if you practice Botho. You wouldn't hate another country. You wouldn't wage a war in another tribe if you practice that framework of Ubuntu.
You wouldn't engage in corruption.
You would engage in corruption. You would look out for each other.
Yeah.
So it's a framework that,
yeah,
if was practiced, we would be safe. And we would be, and that doesn't mean that the things of the world would have, life will happen, but when it does, we have people, we have a scaffolding around us. So we would not fall far from our base. We will be together, and people will be together to help us come back to a base, come back to the center.
To the center.
Moteo. The thing that holds, in our cultures and in the traditional hats that we build, in Botswana and other African countries used to have those traditional hats that are thatched hats that build like that, right? They have the thing at the top to hold the thatch roof, but in the middle it has the single, what you call it, the single, it's not a stick, but a pole that holds this space together. There are times that when you walk around the village, when the walls, because the walls are made of mud, right? There's been beaten by the elements and they've fallen. The roof might go out, but what remains in the center is still that pole. You see it standing so proudly still, regardless of everything else that's happened around the framework of this building.
Talk to me about how you approach the rejection and perhaps failures, when you are dealing with Botho or Ubuntu.
It's not about, I take it as it's not me. So it's not me. And when people are ready, they will engage. I am not in this journey to change thousands or millions of people. If I've impacted one person through my conversations and through the work I do, I've achieved what I need to do. It's one person at a time. Absolutely one person at a time. And all the businesses, a lot of the businesses that I've engaged, or organizations that I've worked with, it has always been because I've done this and then another one have heard about this. I don't do much promotion, by the way.
I went to your website. I went to your website about an hour ago. I saw that you're doing a whole lot.
It's very bland. My husband always tells me, why haven't you put all this feedback? You've engaged all these big businesses, but people can come there. They don't know that you've worked with all these businesses that are some global businesses. And they have given you incredible feedback. Where is it? Why can't people read it in your? And I keep saying, I will do it. But I am busy. People are engaging because people are believing, and I'm writing about it. So I think blogging is something that's quite important as well. Yeah. My thoughts.
Do you blog?
I do some blogging, and you would know who I am from just going through my profiles. So you don't have to wonder who Sharon is. And because my footprint would tell you exactly who I am. So this is where I also say to a lot of young people I mentor, and I said, you tell me you're passionate about this topic, but I've just Googled your name and nothing is reflective to your passions. You haven't shared in your social media any of your views on any topic that is currently being discussed around the world or even in your community. You haven't written a little bit that can say, this is who you are and what you think about the certain topic that you're passionate about. So your footprint might just be just about the party. So people would think maybe that's just who you are. So it is so critical that what we do and how we do it and what we want, what our purpose is, that our footprints show that as well. So it shows the whole narrative of who we are. No longer people are taking business cards. They would go to your LinkedIn account to know who you are.
Good.
What's your name?
Sharon, let me ask you something. How do we protect our children from the bombardment of information that comes through the internet?
I think it is hard because I know my son is 13 and he's on TikTok and all of that it's a very important connection to them. And
how do you tell him to stay grounded
and grounded? You show it. Your children cannot be what they cannot see. They cannot be what they cannot see. How you practice
so you model it. That's what you say.
You model it. You talk about it. You know, my son has been through with me since he was still in the belly. I was doing community things. I'll go there with him. When he was young, I was hosting events in the community. You know, people know him like he's a child of the community already. So I have already ingrained in him and modeled behaviors that are appropriate, that are that we hold firmly in our home. So when you have that ground set, when you've had, you know, he walks around with dreadlocks. I remember the school wanting to think about, appropriate hairstyles. You know, they wouldn't touch my child because he has dreadlocks. That's who he is. Okay. You know, and he has had that since he was young. That's how he identifies. So you can't tell me that has any impact on his schooling. And he would not sit and have that conversation either, because he knows that mom has modeled it and he knows who he is and rooted to his identity. Because I am too. See, I've modeled all of that for him. When the children know culture and identity is such a critical aspect of security and a protective factor for anything in the world, because it gives us that base. It gives us that motel. It gives us the thing that holds us together, right? But when we shift, and my over 20 years in Australia, when I feel lost, when I feel I'm in need, when I feel unsteady on my feet, it is the culture, it is the food, it is the people, it is the community, not necessarily just my own. But it's the values of those connectedness, of connection with others, that helps me stay afloat.
Wow.
So it's those ingredients that I have given to my child, and I'm still, and as a teenager, I have to reinforce that even more. Even more.
Yeah. Because he goes out and he mingles around friends and so forth. But let's elevate that point a little bit and take it to the community, level, right? So you posted something that was sort of kind of interesting about this Nigerian what do you call it? It's a humanoid robot, right?
Yes.
And he can understand languages. And I'm wondering, are there side effects to this thing?
Of course they are. But there are side effects, a whole lot of things that we can think about.
Because I know if you look at and I'm sorry, I have to say this, if you look at the likes of Elon Musk, what they are doing, they're trying to implant or plant, chips in people's, over here in their heads, so that they can tap into their neurons, right? So that they can control. People can become literally become human robots. So, but let me hear your point, though. So,
and we're afraid, right? We're
yeah.
afraid. We're afraid of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid. One thing, you can bring robots, you can teach them anything to do, but you'll never teach them empathy.
Exactly.
And empathy.
But then, and my point is like,
thing.
if you turn people into robots, now you're taking away things like empathy. There will be no connection about that. Right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So
Okay.
that robots will never take over people in terms of what science and behavioral science and psychology, and I come from that background. I use psychology and neuroscience as my base of doing what I do. When you look into some of those research, you recognize that the connections with us, with each other, with people, and the ability to have empathy is what makes us human. It's what protects us. So regardless of whether we have robots or anything else, we will still need each other. So you and I should not be afraid that we will be replaced. What will be replaced? The robots will replace some tasks, some activities that are being done. And perhaps if we're looking at it in another way, that might free us so that we have spent more time with each other rather than keeping working and doing a whole lot of other different things.
No, I'm for that. I'm for that. I'm for that. I'm not. I write about robots. So I'm for good artificial intelligence. That we can use. It becomes a problem when we can no longer use it, but it uses us. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
a problem.
Then it becomes a problem. But if I guess my point is like, if we stay grounded, if we stay to the base, to the center, right?
If we stay to the center, to the base, and we have those frameworks, the
Yeah.
tail is already there. We've built the base.
Yeah.
Then whatever comes in, we already know what's familiar to us, what is safe for us, and we're okay.
Right.
We can weather the storms. We can weather everything that comes and life throws at us. We will stand.
I'm gonna let you go, my sis, because we can talk forever. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about. But you mentioned, or you mentioned that there's racism in Australia. You know what I mean? Like, I can talk about racism here in America. You see what I'm saying? But talk to me about racism. How you guys are approaching it, how you guys are dealing with it. The solution that you're trying to put forth.
I think racism can only happen when we're racism. We have to go back to the base that this country was built on race with racist ideologies. People came and tried to kill the First Nations of this land, kill them. In fact, try to assimilate them into the white culture. Took away. It's the same story as what happened in back in many African countries and other countries in the world when the colonizers came. So you find that the way this country, so we still have the queen, well, not the queen anymore, the king as the head of state.
Yeah.
Right? So the work hasn't been done to reconcile with the first, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of this land, the First Nations people. That work is just beginning with a voice to Parliament politically, because it needs political support and a political activation. There is possibly going to be a referendum that will happen. So racism is already ingrained. I mean, it was only in 1974 that White Australia policy was abolished. White Australia policy was that there's no other person who can come into this country unless they're white. Wow. That's like 40 years ago. We know, so this country, we're trying to dismantle racism right now.
Right.
And it's work that We need our allies. So when I do those drumming and those cultural activations and say to people that here I am, let's talk about this, they become our allies because now they know better. And they will challenge the systems that they encounter that makes racism foster wherever they go, in their neighborhoods, in their workplaces, in the schools. Because it's not just us. I don't want to be the only one talking about racism every single day. Come on. I am tired. I can't fight this all the time. You need to join hands with me to say we don't accept it. So when I shared the article around the police, if you read the article from the Guardian Australia around the racist behaviors and attitude of the Queensland Police Service, and how they're talking about they wish Ebola could have finished all African people.
I read that.
There's so many people who are so distressed when reading that,
talking about we can bury them or something like that.
You know what I mean? But it's people who do not believe that should be a standard we accept.
No, that's horrible.
Who will join hands with us and saying
that's horrible. That needs to be dismantled. Sharon, that's powerful. Let's talk about, this is your last point now.
Yeah.
How can we, those who are in the diaspora, contribute to those, or to motherland, or to mother countries?
Let's join hands together.
Because, we can join hands, but then but sometimes you're dealing with bureaucracy, right?
Well, that's where bureaucracy, whatever bureaucracy is still people who lead.
Yeah.
We should never forget that systems are led by people. Bureaucracies are created by people. And people can dismantle. People can change. Policies and procedures are there, written by someone who had been endorsed by someone. And if you see something that's not working and that hinders progress, you have a right to go and have a meeting and say, actually, this could be done better. This could be done this way. I have an idea. Let's talk about this, because this is what I want to do, and I'm facing these barriers, and these barriers can be dismantled because we're dealing with people here.
Yeah. So would you like to see a woman president someday in Botswana, or at least vice president?
Absolutely. Hey, I'm all about women has to be given chance and equal opportunity, and it is it's the systems that we have grown with that had said, or somehow, and this is not just an issue of Botswana, it's an issue around the world, where women somehow have been not elevated to the positions in parties, so not nominated, so that they have an opportunity to be voted in by the people. So you actually do need to put in constituencies, encourage women to participate in politics and in the political structures that exist, so that you encourage the girl child to participate, because that's the only way that you will then get them to start getting into those steps towards being the president.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to start having all the women being specially elected MPs in Botswana. No. They need to be out there campaigning and talking to the people, be nominated, and being securing those positions in the party right from the ground, and then being part.
People seeing them, working with people.
Absolutely.
From the ground up.
From the ground up.
Your message of hope, my sister.
We can, regardless of what it is, let's go back to the base. Know your center, know your base, secure it, build it, rebuild it. Don't blame anybody about it. Heal from the wounds and the things that you're carrying. Seek help to heal, because truly you will not be able to give yourself to your family, to yourself, to your family, and to your community, unless you have broken those things, that the chains that hold you back. It's in your power, and you can do it. Thank you. Galebuch.
Go leboga.